Okay, welcome to the first part of Halloween Fest 2021. We are starting things off with a game that I have wanted to play on this channel for a very long time, maybe since the very beginning. This is Haunting Ground, one of my all-time favorite games, an absolute classic Capcom game, and quite possibly the rarest or one of the most rare games that I own in my collection. This is a spiritual successor in some ways to the Clock Tower series, and it is one hell of a game. It is one that I play at least like once or twice a year. I'm very excited to be doing this, genuinely. It's also a game that, I forget when this came out, it's either 04 or 05, but it looks gorgeous. Even still, like, not HD or anything like that, this is just progressive scan. Yeah, this came out in 2005. This game looks incredible. But without further ado, we're just going to jump right into the game, so enjoy the opening cutscenes. So now we are thrown into the shoes, or I guess bare feet, of Fiona Belly, the main protagonist. This game, I would say it almost kind of feels like a rejected prototype of like Resident Evil 4, much like Devil May Cry was. This castle reminds me very much so of the castle, of Salazar's castle from Resident Evil 4. And as you can already see, this game still looks stunning. It came out, what, a year before Dead Rising? It looks just as good as that. So I won't be showing this off very much, but Fiona will have like an inner monologue in the notebook, which is something that you can also do in Resident Evil 8. So, interesting to keep that in mind. Fiona is one of my favorite video game characters. I'm not really sure why. She doesn't really have much of a character. I like her so much. I don't know why. Just something about her. I think it's because you really feel connected to her when playing this game. So, it would probably be a pretty good idea, at least at this point in time, to get some clothes. You know, we don't want to walk around with these sheets on, just like she's saying right now. She'd prefer a normal set of clothes. So we should probably go find some.
I've gathered some clothes for you.
Wait! Don't go. Excuse me, but where are we? And how did I get here?
Yes, Master. We will keep her here for a while. I will make sure she stays comfortable.
Well, things are a little weird here, as you can tell. One of my favorite things about this game are the cutscenes. I really love just how weird this game feels. It's definitely one of the weirdest Capcom games, if I had to say so myself.
Wait a minute. remember being in the car with...
Yeah, everything just feels very otherworldly. All the cutscenes just feel very unreal, which I really like. I love the atmosphere that this game has. This game has an unmatched atmosphere. And I would love to see Capcom acknowledge this game at least once. I think the last time they did was in an ending in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. So now we have a little bit better control over Fiona. She's got some more moves that we can utilize. One of the most important things in this game is just closing doors. If you go up to a door and press the circle button near it, you can open it and also close it, which becomes very important throughout most of this game. If you go up to an item like this and press the square button, you can kick. And then you press the circle button, you can pick up things, which will either be shown by a little shiny thing on the ground, or Fiona herself will say, like, hey, there's something there. Really clings to my shape quite nicely. Feels a little tight in the chest area. I wonder why they would do that, Capcom, Why would they deliberately give her a tight shirt? Couldn't possibly think of why. Running isn't usually a very good idea in this game. However, right now, there's no reason not to. So we're gonna run around a little bit more. You do have a stamina. It's not like a shown on screen, but Fiona will get tired eventually if you just keep running. So it's not a great idea to just keep going. If you press the square button while you're running, you'll do a little tackle move, which is useful. I for some reason remember it being able to open up doors. I remember being able to kick open and close doors, but I guess that's not a thing. I guess I'm just misremembering that. This game does have a fixed camera angle type of deal, which I personally love. However, the game controls a lot more like Devil May Cry than it does Resident Evil. And by that I mean it doesn't have tank controls, it's just full analog. Which means sometimes when the camera changes, even if you're pressing the button, if you're pressing the same direction you were facing, sometimes Fiona will just go in a weird direction or she'll freak out. So sometimes if you see Fiona like walk into a wall or something like that, that's what's going on. So yeah, this is very much, I mean, this is seriously, this castle, it's called Belly Castle. We'll find that out pretty soon. That's not really like a spoiler. It's like if the castle from Devil May Cry 1 and Salazar's castle had a baby. So sometimes looking at things in the environment will cause Fiona to freak out. You can see the screen got a little weird. What you're not seeing is that my controller is shaking right now. If you get too many things that freak Fiona out, her psyche will kind of like break. You'll literally hear like a glass shattering sound effect, and you will basically not be able to control Fiona. She will just start running on her own. You can direct where she wants to go, but you can't stop her from running, or you can't get her to stop in place. She'll start falling over herself. So yeah, that's something you want to avoid. There are a lot of hidden cutscenes in this game, and some of them show, like, the psyche damage. So I'm going to try and show as many secret cutscenes in this game as I can possibly do. At least ones that are, like, easy and not completely out of my way. So I will try and show as much as I can. You can read this stuff if you want to. There's not a whole ton of notes. This isn't like Resident Evil, you know, you're not going to get a ton of like lore notes, really. Let's see what we got here. Some lavender. Lots of items to pick up. Very generous items, I would have to say, in this game. Again, very much so unlike Resident Evil. So this is the way that the game is set up. It is broken up into a couple different chapters. Each chapter has a unique stalker-type enemy in it that will constantly be chasing you throughout the entire game. Does that sound familiar? It should, because it's basically what Capcom's been doing with the most recent Resident Evil games. I think it's a concept that they finally perfected, I would say, with Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7 feels very much so like a second crack at this type of a game. It's much easier to avoid the enemies in Resident Evil 7 than it is in this one, but I would say it's the same general idea. So there are a lot of like pretty obvious spots to hide. Like if you could see a bed, you could probably hide in it. If there's a closet, you could probably hide in it. It's a very smart game, but it also means that the game is fairly random, I would say, every time I play this. Because sometimes this character here, whose name is Debilitas, sometimes he'll leave this area and it'll say coast clear, and then a second later he'll run into the room. Other times he'll leave, it'll say coast clear, and it will be coast clear. So it's it's weird, and I've never been too sure how the AI actually works in this game. You know, there's just certain things that you can kind of assume. Like, if you run around, they're probably going to hear you. If you're kicking too many things, they're probably going to hear you. If you're talking too much, which we'll get into later, they're probably going to hear you. So, yeah, I'm not 100% certain how the AI works. It's always just kind of a guess on my part. But those are the things that I'm pretty sure you have to watch out for. Now, unfortunately, he did run away in the exact direction that we want to go in. So that's kind of not great. Before, we could have just ran through here. We really don't want to anymore. So, there are some areas or times in the game where I know that there's no stalker active, and I'll start running around, but for the most part, I'm probably going to be walking. This is as slow as Fiona can get. I kind of wish that there was like a tiptoe, but there isn't. This is, no matter how slightly you push the stick, this is as fast as Fiona will ever go. So this doll, I think, is kind of a useless item. I've never really seen it have any real use. You can equip it and then press the triangle button to throw it. It should be like a one-use item that you can use to get him off your back. But as the cutscene implied, he doesn't want to play with that doll anymore. He wants to play with you. So it makes sense that he doesn't really care, but it's also like, would be nice to have a one-time use item. There is something like that, though, and I will be showing that. But it's not exactly this doll. So in here, we can kind of use this typewriter to sequence break a little bit.
It's not a computer, that's for sure. It has alphabetic keys, though.
So if we type Emeth in here, we can get through a door that we would have had to read a note for. It's a room ahead of us. You know, it just saves us a trip back. However, that's not all we can do right now. If we type in the word rest, R-E-S-T, we can go ahead and get into a secret little area a little bit later on in the game. Again, this is just kind of like, I'm glad that they let you do this. Some games, you have to get to the spot where you can find this information out first, then do it. But since I've already played it, I already know that I need those 2 plates, which I think is very nice. I like when games do that. Now, on the table here, you can see that there's a piece of paper. If we read that, which I don't remember if I do, I might just to get, yeah. So if we read this, we can read a file, which they don't immediately read for you. You have to actually go into your files and read them, which isn't a bad idea. I just think it would be a lot quicker that way. So this creature in the room with us, his name is Emeth. So if we just go over to our good pal Emeth over here and insert the plate that we just made for him, we can move him out of our way. Now, alternatively, we could have printed a plate that said meth, and he would have just crumbled away, and he would have given us an item. But the item, I don't think is very useful, so I think it's just quicker to do this. The item's fine, I guess. It's not bad, but I didn't really want to waste the time with it. There's a much better item that I'll be getting sooner rather than later. Look how good this game still looks. The shadows are great, the lighting is great. Everything in this game looks so good. One thing that I wish Fiona could do is slide down ladders. That's such a classic video game thing. Like, if you were to press the run button and then down, she would just slide down the ladder, but no. You gotta go as slow as humanly possible down that ladder. It's quite obnoxious, if I do say so myself. Yeah, I don't know 100% if breaking these will alert Debilitas to your position. I always got the sense that it could, but I've never been in a room, like, kicked a plate or a jar, and then had him come rushing to me. It's usually some sort of a plot important thing, or I'll just be running down a corridor and I'll just hear him come through. Let's close that. It just gives us a little bit of safety. Like, if he wants to come in, he's gonna have to, you know, open that door and then we'll be alerted to him.
Ah, Fiona. I see you finally awakened. There's something that I've wanted to show you for quite some time. Pull away that sheet behind you. That, my dear, is what you will become in the future. Go ahead. You may touch it. You will be mine, Fiona.
I actually completely forgot. Capcom has recently referenced Haunting Ground. One of the DLC costumes in Street Fighter V, you can actually play as Fiona. I think it's Cammy as Fiona, if I'm not mistaken. Which is pretty cool. I think it's cool that they even referenced it, but doesn't mean they're ever going to do anything with this. I think they could easily make an HD version of this game. This gives us an opportunity to just show off some animations, because this is like the closest you're ever going to get to Fiona on screen. Also, I can't help but notice the fact that this is a game about a small, petite little girl named Fiona being chased by a big, giant ogre man. You'd have to wonder, was this inspired by Shrek, potentially? But we are winding down on this first video. I'm very excited to continue this series. I hope you would enjoy watching through it. This is a game that is very dear to me. We are going to get introduced to a brand new mechanic which is maybe the most annoying part of the game, at least for me. It can be. So this is a new type of enemy. If one of these comes in contact with Fiona, it basically causes her to go into panic mode, which I was discussing before. You really just want to kind of avoid them. You can close off doors to keep them away from you. They're easy enough to avoid, but sometimes I feel like they just get you anyway. But, join me next time where we continue through more of Belly Castle and try and escape Debilitas. So, see you then.